Dr. Jacqui Fleury is with us today. She's launching a new book, and we've got her in the studio on her way to another appointment, I think, in the next couple of days. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
I want to talk about your new book. I read parts of it last night, and there was a little chapter in there for men, boys, and I must say it was an enlightening read. It was very captivating for me to see what people with mature female spouses and partners are going through, and it's quite a challenge when you really get into it. What would you like to maybe talk about the inspiration for the book? Let's start there.
Well, the inspiration for the book is basically 25 years of observation and experience and results, having worked with women in all phases of their life, but in particular how things seem to come to a head around their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So women will be experiencing all sorts of, menopause, there's no secret that women seem to struggle in menopause. And there seems to be a renewed interest in the conversation around menopause. So there's a new narrative that's making its way into the world. But I've been working in menopause from day one. So I've been in practice for 25 years. And I just met women where they were at. So it just happened that I joined a practice early on in my career where the women were already working with women in midlife. So that's all I've known is supporting women in their journey from basically childbearing all the way through to menopause. And I decided to write a book because I started to notice a pattern in women who some seem to just sail through menopause and others seem to really struggle. So I started to take a step back and ask myself, what do the women who seem to sail through menopause, what have we been doing? How have I supported those women compared to maybe women who were new to my practice, hadn't been under my care? And I just started to notice a pattern. So the women who were taking care of themselves well, had their nutrition dialed in, maybe their supplements had been well dialed in, and were managing their stress well, they seemed to sail through menopause differently than the women who hadn't done that. So that was honestly the inspiration for the book, was to talk about my observations.
How do you gauge, I guess, if someone is experiencing it and not aware? Life just goes on, and it's normal for me to be angry or emotional. If that's perceived to be a norm versus, gosh, this doesn't seem right. How do you help someone identify that?
I think that's where this new narrative is coming in. I think women are finding their voice. I think that there is a conversation, and everybody is starting to, and of course social media is the big driver here, where women all around the world are kind of sitting up and taking notice and realizing that they are struggling, like they are experiencing symptoms, and they're also learning that this isn't ideal. Like, so the traditional narrative is that once you hit menopause, everything's gonna, fall apart, and it's like a downhill spiral. And women, I think, are interested in knowing, first of all, why is this happening? Because it doesn't happen in every culture. And what could they be doing differently to feel better? That's really all they want. Women just want to feel more like themselves. They wake up one morning and don't really recognize themselves in the mirror. Maybe they've gained some weight, their skin has changed, their hair is thinning, like there's all these changes that are happening that to this point maybe my mom's generation and her mom's generation accepted that as just a natural part of aging, and this was just something you have to go through. And the men in their lives basically hunkered in for the ride, kind of a thing. So that's where we're making a difference, I think, is helping women understand it doesn't have to be like that.
I appreciate the chapter you had for men and spouses, that want to be supportive, but gosh, it's I've had one fellow say, I will pay for any ticket to fundraise to solve this. Is there a way that you can offer anything to men who are wanting to help? And gosh, I can't duck fast enough when she
Right.
throws things at me because I want to be there, but I don't know what to do. Is there anything you can offer us as men that want to be supportive?
Well, there is that chapter just for that reason, because when there were actually men who approached me when they learned I was writing a book on menopause and said, do you have a book for us? And I said, I don't have a book, but I have a chapter, because I think it's important for men to understand that this is not a medical condition. And to your point, it's like if there was some way to magically solve this or help it go away, I think that there would be some people who would be willing to do that. But really, it's not a medical condition. This is a natural transition. But what ends up happening is if the woman has had health issues or has, not been taking good care of herself leading into menopause, then often the drop in estrogen is what will amplify essentially that lack of self-care. And women are caregivers, so they're used to putting a lot of their energy into other people and other things in their life until they wake up one day and feel like all of a sudden they've lost control over what they used to be able to predict about their bodies. So for men, I think understanding it's not a medical condition and that their partner or their significant other may also be as confused as they are and struggling, maybe not in their best mindset, and helping to kind of walk that journey with her, go to a few doctor's appointments with her, or if she's seeing her nutritionist or her naturopathic doctor, and just be involved, just be a part of the solution rather than standing back and just waiting for the storm to pass.
Yeah, it's one thing just to kind of say, well, you've got problems, but it affects the relationship. I really appreciated what you did for people like me that can understand the analogy. You used a team manager and a captain. Can you talk about that?
Well, estrogen is the sort of the master hormone when it comes to approaching menopause, and estrogen is kind of what helps to drive the ship forward, or sort of the team manager. And as soon as that estrogen starts to drop, then chaos ensues because they've kind of lost the master director. And it requires the rest of the team. So from a hormone health perspective, if the rest of her hormones, her stress hormones or her thyroid or her adrenals have not been in tip-top shape, then there's a little bit of chaos. So that's why I use that analogy. As a team, they all have to pull together. The endocrine system pulls together, and estrogen drives the ship. So as soon as we've lost our captain, then if everybody else hasn't been doing their part, we can see a bit of chaos. And that's where the energy and the brain fog and metabolism, all of that shifts more drastically.
And you mentioned that with the book, you're going to be launching that in a number of different places. What's coming up for you?
Saskatoon Club on May 21st, and I will be also showing a documentary called The M Factor, which has been shown in 40 plus countries, and that documentary is also bringing voice to women who to this point really didn't have the venue to have this conversation. So it's a really good documentary. And I'll be doing a fireside chat and a book signing so women can experience and ask questions and maybe feel a sense of community around this issue.
I find it interesting that, you mentioned your mums and your mums' generation, that the way things are perceived and that change and transformation, is that more of a societal type of thing that you're seeing, or is it because of social media and the information is more readily available and it's not such a taboo topic anymore?
Yeah, I don't think they talked about it, I think, and I don't know that they fully understood what was happening other than their their bodies were changing and they were, not having a period anymore. And so I don't honestly know. I think most of the women in my generation will say their moms never talked about it. So I think just the fact that we're talking about it changes the trajectory for our daughters and our sons and their partners, and I think it's a new wave.
Yeah. So one of the key takeaways I think I caught from both today and reading the book was it's a little more all-encompassing in terms of whole health. That there's diet, but there's also other factors that maybe one thing doesn't fit in, but the others suffer as well. Is there something that you just have a checklist and you kind of go through, or do you have to kind of say, gosh, you've been dealing with some things this way, have you tried these things? You must have to identify some weak spots in the client when they come.
I always go back to the root cause of health, which is the foundation is often rooted in our gut health, our digestion, absorption, and elimination, and also making sure that the woman has enough of the right sorts of nutrients. Most women come into menopause depleted, and they don't realize it because they've just navigated through life, just kind of white knuckling it sometimes, and assuming that they feel fine, so to speak, so they assume that they're getting everything they need. But again, when the estrogen and progesterone shifts, it amplifies all these deficiencies. So I help women recognize the symptoms of deficiencies and help them understand how to replace and kind of get their bodies out and ahead of what's coming in the next 50 years.
If people wanted to get the book itself, or where would they go, or how would they reach out to you?
Amazon. They can also get it locally. I have them on site at the clinic, and they can order them online from my online store. So those would be the main sources right now.
Perfect. I wish you tremendous success and continued success helping many that need it. And then we'll see you, I guess, very soon on the roads.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's our show for today. I'd like to thank our guest, Deputy Chief Yvonne Raymer from the Saskatoon Fire Department, as well as author Jacqui Fleury. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. We'll see you next time on Connect.